The views and opinions expressed by the hosts of this program do not represent the groups that we are affiliated with. Listener discretion is advised. This show is uncensored.
This show is brought to you by the Sirius Cybernetics Corporation. New genuine people personalities for your robots? What can go wrong?
The thing you ought to know, I'm feeling very depressed.
I'm Mike Toller.
I'm Brett Peter.
And this is Don't Panic McHenry County, where we talk about all things politics local to McHenry County, state when it affects McHenry County, and everything else that runs across our vapid little minds.
And our palates.
Yes. So, it's been a little while. We've been missing.
It has.
Hello.
Hi.
We're back.
We call it a special meeting.
Yeah, special meeting. It seems to be all the rage today.
Yeah.
Now, we took some time off because we were going to try and do a special episode about the election hacking that came forth from a federal report from the intelligence community. But after rereading the redacted, heavily redacted documents, I mean, some of them were even so much that there was like one or two words on a page and everything else was blacked out, we decided to scrap that concept and just keep moving.
Because, honestly, I don't think either one of us could get past 4 or 5 pages without having to reread it.
Well, the bigger problem was that it didn't say much other than the Russians got into the database of the registered voters, was able to exfiltrate or export data about the voters, could have changed things, but didn't.
Yeah, so the who, what, when, where, and why really blacked out, so you never really got...
Yeah, the why, the how, everything else, it was all kind of blacked out from everything else. So there wasn't a lot of substance to cover there.
Which Mike came to the conclusion of, your conclusion that A, that it still isn't fixed.
Yeah, yeah. Basically what it boils down to, or what that tells me, is that whatever problem it was isn't fixed. Otherwise they'd release it under, publicly. So nothing's been fixed, although they wouldn't have a reason to hide it otherwise, at least in my opinion.
No.
So instead, we'll be talking today about the goings-on in McHenry Township. And there is a lot. Buckle up, folks. Buckle up.
This may take longer than an hour.
This is going to be a wild ride. Everybody's going to be like, I want off Mr. Toad's wild ride after this. So what we have here is, I've kind of tentatively titled this episode, Empathy, What's That? We'll see if that sticks or not. But so, to kind of give a quick refresher on what's been going on in McHenry Township, we have two separate but kind of tied together items that are going together. We have 3 board members, and that's Bob Anderson, Mike Rakestraw, and Steve Verr, who are hell-bent on destroying the township and everything it stands for. So much so to the point that they cut the senior bus service. So it's a senior and disabled bus service that only operates within the township boundaries. It's an express service. It does door-to-door. When other services in the area are unable to handle this, well, how can we say, the special types of transit needs for individuals, such as wheelchairs or not being able to get out of their, people that aren't able to get out of their house on their own.
Pretty much just disabled transportation.
Yeah, it is very big on the disabled half, but it's also seniors.
Yeah.
And we went over that in a previous video. I'll probably link that in the comments about what the costs are and everything else like that. I'll link our previous episode to this one.
And to back it up just a bit too, this is also more than likely retaliation for their failed coup, or not really coup, but their failed attempt to get rid of the road department. Yeah,
the road district. And also, when it comes down to it, that's their second part, which is getting rid of the township altogether, 100%. So the more limbs they hack off the township, the more it becomes useless. The more that they think that people will be more willing to get rid of it as they lop parts off of it.
Yeah. Now, quick chronological order, I believe it was 94 Bob Anderson got the township removal on the ballot. That failed drastically.
More so to the point, he tried to reorganize how the county works, because at that time there was only one way to get rid of townships, or the easiest way to get rid of townships, I should say, was to reorganize how the county board works and move it from a board-like system to from an elected board to, I can't remember what it was called right now off the top of my head, but to a different type of system where it's like county managers.
Yeah.
So he tried to reorganize that so that they could get rid of the townships.
With the regional managers. Or
yeah. Continuing with your timeline.
Yeah, so anyway, we've talked about Bob doing all this a few times, but we're going to put it all in order here for this episode. So it's 94 that started. He was so upset that it didn't work then. He kept trying, and for some ungodly reason decided he was going to actually run this time as a tax fighter.
Yeah, and there's also other things that interject in there. At one point in time, he made improvements to his house. There's some debate as to whether or not he actually got a permit that he was supposed to get, but that really doesn't matter. To the point here is that, he made improvements to his house and assessed value went up. Mm-hmm. And he blames the township for that. There's another instance where I want to say 90% funded by a private organization, 10% funded by the township. They put up some warming shelters for the snowmobilers out here in Wonder Lake area in the McHenry Township. He was against that concept, tried to get it stopped, and that leads into his hate of townships and why he wants them to get rid of them. So those two key things are really it when it comes down to it. Keep in mind, Mr. Anderson, the Captain Ahab of our story, as well sits on Harrison School Board, which is a larger portion of my taxes. In fact, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and post the pie chart for my own personal taxes. Since I'm in McHenry Township, I live in Wonder Lake, and I'm going to go ahead and post the pie chart for my own home taxes, just to show that what little percentage the township takes from my own property taxes. And it's just ridiculous to be attacking this when he sits on the Harrison School Board, and you'll see in the pie chart that that's a much larger portion of my property taxes.
Yeah, and I have a feeling it's just because there's actually other people on that board that actually give a shit about education and the kids, that his one negative Nancy comments about everything just doesn't do anything.
The bigger thing is that you get people from, and I've been getting into a lot of discussions with people. Actually, the one of the people that I've been getting into discussions a lot works for the Illinois Policy Institute, which is you see that eye roll? Yeah, that's all you need to say out loud. They are a very, very much conservative-based think tank, and everything that they put out is very much bent on that concept, instead of being a kind of neutral party.
Which, you know what? We've gone over this before. That's fine. You want to have your own little sources for news or whatever, that's fine. But when you start saying that whatever you're saying is 100% true, and don't bother reading anywhere else, or don't look anything else up, just use our stuff, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
That's when I start getting into a problem.
Oh, that's
Illinois Policy Institute, PragerU.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And there's other ones on the left too that do it as well, but nowhere near.
I'd say there's equals on each side.
Yeah, there is, but like the far left ones, like those are like so.
The Young Turks.
Well, yeah, but like I'm like leaning more towards like the media. I know the Young Turks have become more evolved over the last few years, but
they've basically become the InfoWars of the
Mother Jones, stuff like that. You can tell, but that's the thing. If you can tell, then you should really go look at some other side of it to find out what's really going on.
Well, and that's part of the problem that we have with groups like the Illinois Policy Institute, is that they present it as being neutral when it really isn't.
No.
but I've gotten into a couple of discussions with them, and they keep pointing to, areas with less units of government have lower taxes. And they point to like California and Florida are the two that he recently pointed to in these discussions. And it's like, well, okay, they have a different school funding motto or method. So when it comes to it, more of that money is coming from the state level than from the local property taxes. So you're completely ignoring that and entirely blaming this on the townships and non-existence in California and Florida.
Well, why didn't they just bring up Las Vegas then at that point where you're paying zero income tax?
Right. No, it's not property tax.
I'm sorry.
Right. Because again, that's a far outlier that you can easily disprove, but you have to look into the school funding model and compare them for the other ones. That requires a little bit more than a surface scan.
Yeah. But yeah, it all comes down to how the taxes are collected, how they are distributed, and what type of industry is supporting this. Mm-hmm. Because California, I almost guarantee you, probably at least I'm going to say a good 70% of their state taxes that they collect are from businesses. So I mean, that's another discussion for another day.
But yeah, he comes in as this tax fighter, fighting against townships when he as well on the Harrison School Board, where he could make a larger impact in the day-to-day lives of individuals. He keeps saying that people are being taxed out of their homes. Well, the Harrison School Board, the Harrison School District could definitely use some more funding from the state level, like they should be getting, as opposed to putting it all on the individuals inside this particular geographic area. When you start seeing school funding from state levels, again, I'm getting off onto a tangent here, you start to see more consistent education across the state.
Just use the lottery money for what it was intended for.
Oh, yeah, that too. But, I mean, the lottery money that's a whole nother can of worms. We're getting way off track.
We've already just told you about our next 6 episodes.
Yeah, we're way off track. So anyways, it continues. We've tried to fight back as individuals, and we formed up a group. Look us up. I'll link to it as well in the video. Save the McHenry Township and its services. We've formed up a group and we're fighting back against it, and we've tried to do a couple of things. We've put a ballot measure out on the next ballot for the primaries that will it's an advisory referendum, so non-binding.
Non-binding, yeah.
But
non-sticking.
One would think that if an advisory referendum is voted on and it votes this certain way, that your elected officials who are most supposed to represent you would follow that advisory referendum as to what it says, whether or not it's binding. It's just, otherwise what's the point?
Yeah.
But anyways, an advisory referendum on whether or not the people of the township want to keep the bus service, since they're the three, the Legion of Doom, the three, are that's Anderson, Verr, and Rakestraw, are insisting that they got elected, even though Verr wasn't elected. We'll get into that in a moment. That with a mandate from the people to do this, and that's just not true. We know it's not true, and we're going to prove it with the advisory referendum.
Well, not only that, but anytime you ask them to prove anything, and they don't want to.
Yeah, they don't. We've asked for cost-benefit studies for the elimination of the township, as well as risk analysis be done for what are our risks, what are our pitfalls, so that we can plan for them.
Which they could have paid for with all this money that they put into these special meetings that they've called the last, 4 times?
Oh, we'll get into that.
No, I know that's kind of
each one of those meetings costs about $1,000 each. Each trustee gets paid $100, and the attorney bills are $150 an hour. So yeah, they could have very easily done a risk analysis for the 2 past special meetings that they've called. $2,000 to do a simple risk analysis.
Probably.
I think that sounds reasonable. It doesn't need to be something entirely overly complicated. Just a simple, where are our potential pitfalls if we were to eliminate this township and pass those duties up to the county.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's going to get more expensive the more detailed you get into it, but I mean, yeah, all you would need is just saying something that either you're going to save money or you're not going to save money.
This isn't even about saving money. This is simply...
Well, even if they were doing it based on what they said that they were running for, the tax fighter, I mean, that's... even if they did it just to prove themselves right, it would still be saving money to do a risk analysis than just trying
Well,
to get
that's
it done.
more of a cost analysis, is what I'm saying. A risk analysis goes where are your greatest areas of risk? Where are your pitfalls going to be? What are you going to have to pay attention to? What has the chance of backfiring the most on you, and what should you avoid?
Right, and even if you do the risk, even if you do the risk assessment, even the cost assessment, it's still going to be another 2, 3. I mean,
Yeah.
like I said, by the time that they even do the 2 reports that they would need, just for a general outline, it's still going to be cheaper than these stupid meetings that they're holding that get nothing done. So
Right. So we put that ballot initiative forth, and that's going to be on the next upcoming ballot there.
March 2020,
Yeah, March sounds right.
I think it's mid-March.
Yeah. Something madness. We can't say the full word because it's copyrighted.
Give you a hint. Basketball.
But anyways, so we've got that, and then we've got another one that's circulating, and we'll get into that in a moment because it's important to follow the story along. First things first, though. County board meeting on August 20th. A number of us showed up to that county board meeting and expressed our concerns about the elimination of the bus service, the fact that the Legion of Doom, the 3, Anderson, Rakestraw, and Verr, I keep saying that it's a duplicative service, that the McHenry, even though multiple people from McRide, people from the senior services stuff, people from all of these different things have shown up to meetings and told them that this isn't a duplicative service. Our service is not the same as what you guys do, and we can't handle the influx that's going to happen when you kill this service.
And the best nail in the coffin on that one was the Jack Franks quote.
Yep, Yep.
He'll put the video in here somewhere to show you what Jack Franks says.
I'll put it right here.
I agree with you 100% about the bus. I thought that the decision was short-sighted and just stupid, and the cost savings doesn't justify what they're doing. We're trying to backfill that. We have some things here, and Mr. Trost, you're right. What we have does not duplicate what you've got, but we'll try to work with you, okay? And I'm appalled at what they did there, and I think most of our board members are as well. So we appreciate it. Understand they're the guys who are making those decisions, and elections do matter, Yep. So thank you.
And just in case it doesn't work, Jack Franks said that eliminating the bus service was short-sighted and stupid. I quote.
And if I remember right, he also went off about how saying that the county services was not equal to that.
Right. He did mention that the services are not equal. As well as after the meeting, we talked with several board members. They agree that there is no plan for the elimination of the township and consolidating its services up into the county. There's no plan. The county has no plan. The townships have no plan.
Which is still another stupid idea, since you would figure that the county head was the one helping spearhead this whole county consolidation shit.
Which is hilarious because Frank says eliminating the service, the bus service, is short-sighted and stupid, but he's still a fan of eliminating the townships, which would, in turn, eliminate the bus service, for which they have no plan and no service capability to be able to handle it. So he's playing a double-faced politician at this point. He's speaking out of one side of the mouth and then the other. You can't support the destruction of the townships and then say that eliminating the bus service is short-sighted and stupid. You can't say both. So I have a bit of an issue with Frank's because of that, and it's you know what, I have a bit of an issue with Frank's for a lot of reasons.
Well, yeah, I have issues with a lot of people for a lot of reasons, but like I said, to sit there and spearhead the whole let's eliminate the township shit, and then to come out and say that you do not have a plan for it, it's just, why?
So when it comes down to it, though, when you're looking at it and you got no plan, you got nothing going on, and even other members of the county board were coming up to us after the meeting talking about how, yeah, we've tried to do this, we've tried to come up with a plan, a contingency plan just in case, and Franks keeps getting in the way.
Get shot down, yeah.
So they're going off in their own little groups and trying to come up with some sort of formula,
Which
some
is
sort
what
of
they
plan.
should be doing because that's their job.
Right. But they're never able to get it to the board as a whole because Franks keeps getting in the way.
Yeah.
You know, so and when I asked Franks about that on Facebook, he said that he had expressed an intent to intend to have a meeting about discussing how to handle the potential dissolution. And it's like, so you have no plan.
Yeah.
You have intend to discuss.
I thought about sending out an email.
I thought maybe about something that I should do, but I've decided I don't.
Maybe that's what we should do. We should get in a couple of those county board people that we had interviewed for that won their elections and bring them all in and discuss this one day.
Talk it out. But so that's where we sit with that on the county level. There's no plan at the county. There's no plan at the township. There's no plan anywhere, and they won't even discuss having like a risk analysis done or anything else like that. So
another thing I want to add that I just saw this week too. Wasn't it? This was Miss McSweeney's bill, right?
Yeah.
The one that's no longer going to be running for state senate anymore.
Right. He's gonna try and if
he's gonna do something like tour the state for 2 years and then try running for Congress or something like that.
Yeah, well,
Senate.
he basically said that he's going to try running for federal level, or if Jesse White doesn't run again
For Secretary of State.
for Secretary of State, he's going to run for Secretary of State.
Which at that point, I really hope Jesse White runs again.
The man is
As far as Secretary of States go, he's been probably the least turmoiled.
Yeah, I mean, I was about to say, you've never heard a single thing about him. Like,
I mean, yeah, everybody gets mad because, they raised the plates, they raised the registration fees, they raised this, they raised that. But you also got to remember, Jesse White has no control over that. He only has to get the money. That's his job.
yeah. And the tumblers are phenomenal.
Oh, they are, yeah.
It's a phenomenal organization and does a lot of good work and everything else like that too.
Yep.
So, but back on track. So when it all comes down to it, Bob has admitted, and we found speaking of Illinois policy, we found an interview from him with Illinois Policy Institute that right after he got elected, where he admitted that township taxes are not a large portion of your property tax. He also admitted that he had a sign out on his barbershop that said "Abolish townships."
Here, I want to quote this.
Quote it.
From
Quote it.
Illinois Policy.
Mark it. Quote it.
I was asked to take down the Abolish Township sign outside of my barbershop when I was running, so I brought it in. But the day after the election, I put it back out. Township buses go by it every day. The township road district people go by it every day. They know I'm serious about moving forward. One thing people should know is that townships aren't really about the money. They're not a large part of your property tax bill. The issue is more about the structure of our government.
So he's talking about saving taxes. He admits that it's not that much of a saving. We've got a rare sight here. We saw the bald spot. Ladies and gentlemen, it has gotten that bad. We've seen the bald spot.
You have. Right. Oh my God. Oh, this guy. Oh, every week something new comes out or whatever, and it's just, oh my God. How do you do this? It's stupid. You come out, you want to abolish townships because you want to be a tax fighter, and then come out and say, well, it's not really about the taxes.
Yeah. It's a vendetta. He is Ahab, and the townships are his white whale, and he really has no good reason to do what he's doing, yet he still keeps pursuing it. It's every time anybody asks him, to prove anything he says, he gets defensive, he mumbles, he wanders off. Sometimes listening to him is like that one episode of The Simpsons with Abe Simpson telling the story about how he went to Shelbyville, they took the trolley.
Oh, yeah,
it was a nickel at the time.
Yeah.
Nickels had pictures of bees on them. Give me 5 bees for a quarter, we'd say. But anyways, I had an onion on my belt, which was the style at the time. There was one sequence there at the last meeting where he just kind of mumbled off about how he doesn't respond to public comment response things, and it's like this word salad jumble that he wasn't going to respond to somebody asking him a question.
Yeah, which is, again, stupid. But back your shit up. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
You got a point to make it, go ahead. Just don't make a point and then go, okay, my point has been made.
Right, that's not how debate works. You make a point, then somebody else makes a counterpoint, then you come back with evidence to back up the point you've made, then the person who made the counterpoint comes back with evidence to back up their counterpoint, and then you keep going back and forth.
You know what? Not even if you don't want the debate. Answer the questions about what you want to do.
Don't hide it. Don't pull your sign in so that then put it back out after you get elected. That's just deceptive. If you're going to be true, be true.
Mm-hmm.
That's 100% on point. There is I think deceptive to the voters to bring that sign in for when you're running for election and then put it back out after the day after.
Man, well, honestly, if anybody did their due diligence when they went to go look at these people when they were voting for him in the first place, they would have known that this guy's been 6 cans short of a six-pack.
Yeah, but I mean, when you're talking about your average voter,
No.
they don't do a lot of deep dive into people.
No, they don't.
They rely on the news media to kind of bring those things to light.
Or they see the keywords, tax fighter.
Right.
Oh, Katie.
Or even some of them even just look for the R or the D next to the name and just check mark those. Then you have another issue of where alphabetical order versus
Whoever gets in on the ballot
right.
gets their signatures turned in before.
Right,
And,
winds up, or would alphabetical order be a better answer? There's a lot of, that's a whole nother can of worms about how elections are run, and ranked choice voting. Like, let's just bring that up from the line.
Yeah.
Or throw it back.
For everything.
So, there's a lot of things that go involved in there, and something as simple as removing that sign. Well, if you know Bob's running, Bob says that he has a barbershop in Wonder Lake, you drive by it and you see the sign that says abolish townships. Well, now you might think twice about voting for him.
Well, you might not even know that's him that has that sign up. He might just have the sign up because he thought it was a great idea. You don't even know that it was him that's running that put that sign up.
Right.
But yeah, it's do your homework.
Votes matter. Elections matter. But they won't release any studies. But we have a study here, and I'll link to it in the comments there, from Wendell Cox. He's
good man.
Highly regarded policy analyst. That eliminating townships will not just reduce taxes, but they're likely to increase the taxes.
To break it down real quick, the higher the population, the more than likely the higher your taxes will go up. Is pretty much what it boils down to.
Right, because you have a lot of factors involved. Right now, the county only services so many miles of road. So when you eliminate the township, the way the law is written, which by the way that law is being challenged right now because it only applies to McHenry County.
Right.
So it's being challenged at the Illinois Constitution level about a targeted law that only targets one county because it names that county specifically. Yeah. There are several laws that set a population limit, which really were intended to target, Chicago or Cook County. Mm-hmm. But in theory, any county or town could breach that population limit in theory. But to call out a county by name, to call out a county by name versus set a thing like a population limit is a totally different monster. But when you eliminate, according to law, when you eliminate the township, you eliminate the road district too. So that's something to put into this equation. The county right now maintains less miles entirely, not just road miles, because you got lane miles, you got road miles. Those are two different things. Lane miles are are higher, and it's more important when calculating resurfacing and repaving and things like that, because it costs more to resurface and repave a
6-lane
four-lane
road versus a
road.
two-lane road.
Yeah, so you count lane miles. But just pure road miles, the county maintains less right now than all the townships put together. In fact, it maintains less than the two largest townships put together.
Yeah, I think they only do like, what is it, like 17 miles of road, I think?
No, the county maintains more than 17.
Oh yeah, sorry.
But, so now you're going to take all these roads and you're going to put them up to the county level. Well, when you put them up to the county level, there's specific standards that the county has to be held to.
Which, by the way, is $1 million a mile.
Yep, that the townships don't have to be up to, because those are considered, lesser roads. Those lesser roads. We should see if we can get Jim in here. Jim, from the McHenry Township, because he's the township road supervisor, and he's also an engineer in his own right. On top of it, he could explain this so much better. We should see if we can get him in there.
Yeah, we should.
So I'm not going to bother to try and explain that any further than what I just did, because I know I'm going to get something wrong. But to bring those roads then up to the county level and the county standard, and then maintain them with the county employees, who, by the way, are union, and the township employees are not union.
Boo. That's just me.
But you get an instant increase in labor cost.
Yeah.
You've got an instant increase in the roads requirements that's going to make them much more expensive. Then you look in the fact that, okay, let's move on from the road district onto the township. There are a lot of services that townships do that the county doesn't do. Emergency assistance funds. So if you need money to get through this month, you need to pay your electric bill, otherwise they're going to cut off your power.
Or rent, or food.
Or rent, yeah. You can go to the township and get money. You can get that money, and that money will help you get past that. And you can only do that like once a year.
I thought it was
No, the emergency assistance is like once a year.
Okay, I thought it was capped for some reason. Okay.
And then there's another form of assistance that a lot of the townships do that you can get on a more continuing basis.
But yeah, there's a Red Cross. Is it Red Cross group that's there?
No, this is township.
No, I know, but there's also like I thought a Red Cross. There's like I can't remember. I thought
Fish food pantry.
No, inside the actual township offices, there's like a part of the emergency aid is that they hook you up with the Red Cross or whatever it was.
That's the other thing that they do. Let's say the township can help you or can't help you. They will put you in contact with other organizations that can help you as well. So let's say that you need baby clothes. They can put you in contact with an organization that handles that. You need diapers. You need food. The Fish Food Pantry leases space from the township in order to run the food pantry out of the township there. All of that's going to go away because the county doesn't do that stuff. The buses, the township buses we already mentioned, they would go away. They would go to McRide, which is a totally different service. That's curb to curb, not door to door, as well as it's not an express service. One of the people that's involved in the groups and trying to save the buses just rode the McRide just out of pure curiosity. She normally takes she had to go out to Woodstock. So she had to take the McRide instead of the township bus. And it took her 2 hours to get from Wonder Lake to Woodstock for a doctor's appointment. They were late. They were late to arrive. They were late to pick her up. They had to pick somebody else up on the way. Mm-hmm. So they literally picked her up, then drove somewhere else, then drove back past her place to go to Woodstock. And on the way home, they drove past her place to go drop this person off, and then back to her place in Woodstock, in Wonder Lake to drop her off. So you've got a totally different service, whereas the McHenry Township bus is an express bus. It picks you up, it takes you to your location. If there's multiple people going to the same location, they'll pick up multiple people and take them all to the same spot.
It's easier to dispatch that way.
And while she was giving this public, and I'll link to that one. I'll link to this whole comment about how she was her experiences with the township, with the county bus service versus the township bus service. While she's up there and she's giving this firsthand account of the difference that she experienced, Verr has got his head on his and he's pretending to be asleep, and he looks like he's taking a nap. And after they started, everyone started clapping after the public comment, like they always do after every public comment. He did this like startled awake pantomime.
I'll do the Verr, the usual Verr look. This is him during public comments 90% of the time.
What's good about that there is because you got away from the microphone, and he has a tendency to not talk into the microphone and cover his mouth, and so that he can't be heard very clearly. But yeah, so this study highly demonstrates the eliminating townships will not reduce taxes and likely increase taxes, and for all those reasons, you're moving that up to the town from the township to the county. The other problem I have with this, and this isn't kind of mentioned in this study, this is more of a personal problem. I have a lot of personal problems.
Excellent.
When you distribute your government through smaller units of government, you don't consolidate the power in the hands of few.
No.
And to me, that's a big deal. Because are we going to take all the things that the township now handles and put that in the hands of the few county board members, who, by the way, are going to get fewer because that referendum passed to reduce the number. And so we're consolidating power and taking it from the hands of the many and putting it into the hands of the few. And then when you look at that,
it's just the way they want it.
Yeah, when you look at it and you're like, oh, Jack Franks, that's why you support getting rid of townships, because you want to consolidate power under your seat.
Well, all I gotta say is at least that one passed where his position he can't stand for the next 20 years, so that's at least good.
Right.
But I mean, yeah, no, and plus local government is quicker and faster to respond to anything that's going on than a countywide or a statewide organization.
Right. If I've got an issue with a tree, I can call up the township and there'll be somebody out here. The same day, if not the next day.
Right. Usually a 24-hour turnaround.
Right. There's a tree that's on the easement. That's the township's responsibility. It got struck by lightning. It's gonna fall. The county will be out there in 2 to 3 weeks. The township turns around right fast, quick, in a hurry.
Yeah. But yeah, and it's just the same thing with me in Richmond. If I got a problem, I call the city of Richmond, and then I had one problem with somebody. I can't remember what had happened to it. Something to do with water washing out a part of somebody's driveway onto it was a mess, and nobody knew who to call. Mike, you call the city. Let them figure it out. It's the city has the easement. The city deals with that. That's the city.
Right.
And then they were like, okay, cool. Didn't give us a timeline or nothing, but 25 minutes later, here comes the truck pulling up.
Right.
What do we got here? Okay, cool. And then they're like, we'll be back. 35, 40 minutes later, they came back with like 4 more people, took care of it, done.
Right. That's your benefit of local government. The other thing that townships do that there's no provision for in the county, senior services.
Yeah.
Townships do a lot of senior services. The McHenry Township has a senior center where the seniors can get together and socialize and get out of their house and stop. There's a direct correlation between your seniors and their time alone and their life expectancy. More time alone, more time that you spend just sitting around the house, the lower the life expectancy, not to mention the quality of life.
Yeah.
And so all of that goes away.
I mean, granted, the county's got Valley High,
Yeah,
but that's it.
yeah, but that's a nursing home.
Mhm.
We're talking about independent living
No, I know,
seniors.
I know. But that's all the county's got.
I know,
They got-
you know.
They got McRide and they have Valley High.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, they got a clinic, I mean, that services all, poverty level people and, whoever else wants to go in there, but that's pretty much it. I mean, the township, senior center, they got the bus that'll pretty much take them to and fro wherever they need to go, instead of, we'll pick you up whenever we can. The warming centers across the township.
Warming centers are huge. There was, in the most recent, y'all out there remember just the big polar vortex thing that happened. When that was coming through, by the time the townships had organized and set up their warming centers, the county was just placing calls to form a meeting to figure out how they were going to set up their warming centers. The townships had already organized, set up, gotten volunteers, had everything up and running.
I think it was like within 4 hours they already had almost
Right.
3/4 of the time slots allotted for volunteer sign up and all that stuff.
Right.
It was good to go.
And the townships were already up and running and ready to go, and the county was just calling people to form a committee to have a meeting to talk about how they were going to set up warming shelters.
No need to talk about it, we already did it.
Yeah, it's already done. We took care of it. That's the speed and efficiency of a township government. To put that all up into the county, we're going to lose all of it.
Yeah.
We're going to go back to having meetings about having meetings about having meetings, instead of going and just getting it done.
Now, the only thing I'm going to say that's good about that law that they passed about the McHenry County getting rid of their townships, the only good part about it is that they said that the auctioning off of their equipment, buildings, etc., whatever else, would only be spent inside that district.
Right.
Which that's like the only good thing about that bill.
Well,
That's it.
here's the problem then. Aren't you just going to set up township-like systems
No.
to handle that
No, 'cause
from the
you're-
county level?
This is where it's going to get even more expensive. This is the best part. They're going to auction off all this equipment and auction off all these buildings so they can buy new equipment and new buildings.
Right. Well, the county can take them over. If the county doesn't want them, they'll
that's true.
get auctioned off.
Yeah, but I mean, still, there's going to be if they keep all the equipment, there's going to be the minor costs of repainting everything, of the trucks and all that stuff, which at that point is minimal.
But you're still going to wind up, if that's how it's going to be set up, where they're still going to keep, like, let's say
The McHenry, let's say they keep the McHenry Township garage or the road garage, and they rebrand all the equipment, rebrand the buildings, all that shit. It's still
there.
It's still there.
Right. But instead of being able to act autonomously on their own, under the direction of a local elected official,
Yeah.
they're going to have to wait for orders from the county for what they can and cannot do.
Which is, again, I mean, at that point, if they're going to, let's say 4 townships get consolidated in McHenry County, are they still only going to have the one guy running the whole show? Or are they going to have 4
Administrators,
co-commanders?
yep.
Yeah. Which is what you got now.
Right.
Except that guy's not elected.
Right.
He's going to be the brother or cousin of somebody.
Somebody's uncle's cousin's nephew's former roommate.
And that's how you keep pushing the whole corruption stuff, is by letting people do this shit and then bitch that it's so corrupt. Well, if you would have kept it at a local level, you wouldn't have to worry about this, now would you?
So this elimination law passes, right? And JB signs it for some unknown reason. The very next day, Bob Anderson is at the township scheduling a special meeting to put the required ballot initiative on the ballot. Except he didn't bother to consult with the township attorney. He didn't bother to consult or even read the law himself, because I read the law myself, and even I knew as soon as I saw what was going on that it wasn't going to happen. He was in there the next day to schedule a special meeting of the township board so that they could put this ballot initiative to get rid of the township on the 2020 election ballot.
By the way, in Illinois, you have to have a 48-hour notice. So
yeah, for the township to call its own
Special
meeting.
meeting.
Yeah. When,
if he calls it on a Monday, it could be on a Wednesday.
Right. So he's in there calling for this and to put it on the 2020 ballot for the presidential ballot. Now
Second election.
There's an election that happens before that, and that's the primary election. And the law says that it has to be on the next available election as long as it's within like 180 days.
Yes.
So we knew that what he was trying to do was wrong. The township attorney could have advised him that this was a waste of time to do this
I
now.
believe Chuck even told him, or Craig Adams, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Chuck, I don't know, I said Chuck, but Craig
But-
Adams probably told him.
But they called this special meeting. And like I said, each one of these special meetings cost about $1,000.
Give or take a few $100.
Because each one of the township trustees gets $100. So you've got Anderson, you've got Rakestraw, you've got Verr, you've got Wojcicki.
And then you got Adams.
Adams, though, he doesn't get paid the extra
Oh, he
$100 because he's already paid a salary as the administrator.
Right, but I thought he still got it
I don't think he does.
maybe not.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm not 100%.
But either way,
So, and then
the lawyer costs $150 an hour.
a lawyer costs $150 an hour, so a 2-hour meeting.
That's minimum $300 because you got to pay for him to get there and go home.
Travel, yep. Travel. So, there's a special meeting that's called, and they wind up doing nothing. And they even went into executive session and talked with the lawyer about it. And they called this meeting to do this thing, and they couldn't do the thing that they wanted to do. Now, why would they want it on the presidential election and not the primary?
Numbers.
Care to think?
Trump 2020.
Exactly. If you've listened to any of their meetings, they insist that everybody that's showing up to support the township or the township buses, they're all Democrats or employees of the townships.
Yeah.
So with basically Trump being the presumed nominee for the Republican Party.
Oh no, the GOP pretty much said that they're going to get rid of anything to do that would even possibly.
That was a
somebody.
recent thing. That was after this.
Right. This was Thursday or Friday
Yeah.
that they came out and said that there would be
So-
no primaries or nothing. So now Joe Walsh is going to be really upset.
Right. Several states only, though. But we can get into that discussion later, because at least the Republicans are being straightforward about their subverting of the democratic process, as opposed to the Democrats who had the election but then stacked everything on the back end to put Hillary up as the nominee. At least the frickin' Republicans are being straightforward.
That's true. I'll give them that much. But anyway.
They'll at least lie to your face. or no, I should say, stab you in the front. There we go. As opposed to,
How you doing?
how's it going? But anyways, so there being no real, runoff for the primary on the Republican side, you're going to get more Democrats that show up to the primary than you are going to get Republicans.
Which is, I don't know. I find it kind of strange anyway, because you're still going to have to pull separate ballots. I mean, I know why they're doing it, but when you run the numbers, there's no primary, but for the presidential anyway. But if there's anything else on that ballot, people are going to show up to vote, regardless of what party you're pulling a ballot for.
Right.
So that's when that's my fuzzy logic with them on their March primary one. But I know that they want the numbers,
Right.
So they're going to do it on the presidential one.
Right. So they called that special meeting to put that forward. So there's an interesting little note in the law that when you put one of these ballot initiatives forward and it fails, you can't put another one back on the ballot for, I want to say, 26 or 28 months. Or 40, it's either 20 or 40. I'd have to look at it again. So here's what we're doing. We're passing around signature sheets right now. Look for them. If you're in McHenry Township, ask around. I can get you one if you want one. We're passing around signature sheets to put it on the primary ballot. Mm-hmm. When it fails, or if it fails, I should say, if it fails, it will lock them out. The lockout time period is long enough that it'll lock them out from trying to do it for the rest of their term.
I love democracy sometimes.
So that's the goal, and that's why you're currently seeing petitions being passed around, because either the board can put it on or the electors can put it on. The board can put it on by a simple board vote, or the electors can put it on by gathering signatures. So that's why you're seeing that currently passed around in the McHenry Township.
Also, if I remember correctly, today's the start date to collect signatures for your running of the election? Or no, the
2021.
21. Sorry, my fault.
2021.
But today starts the signature collection for people that will be running on the primary ballot in March.
Yeah. So that's why you're seeing those passed around. The other thing is that we passed around some signatures for another special meeting of the electors, because one of the abilities that you have according to the township code as the electors is to direct the township supervisor to spend money for the aged, as it says in there, for the elderly, for services that they need. So since there will be money left over, because they're cutting the township bus service early. In November, when it should run out through
March.
At least March. So there's going to be money left over. So we're calling a special meeting to direct the supervisor to contract with a third party, utilizing that money to continue running that bus service through at least March, so that we don't lose that bus service at least until after March, when the ballot initiative for the advisory referendum on whether or not we should keep the bus service will at least pass.
Yeah.
or fail, whichever way. It'll at least have happened. Then we can come back and go, hey, look, we had a ballot initiative. The people have spoken. You need to keep the service. Then we still have the buses. We still have everybody else to be able to continue that service without an interruption. So, to counter this, they called another special meeting for this past Friday, as of this recording, this past Friday at 6 o'clock, instead of the normal 7 o'clock meeting times, to try and move that money into the general fund, or out, as I should say, put it into a lockbox is what he wanted to do.
You know, when I heard that, you know exactly what came to mind when I heard him say
Was it Al
lockbox.
Gore?
You gotta put it in a lockbox.
Yes, it was Al Gore.
That was the exact thing that came to my mind. I was like,
But yeah, that where somebody posted that up too. It was like a supercut of Al Gore saying lockbox.
Lockbox.
Of which there is no provision in the township code for such a box to exist.
Nope.
Which means that the funds will go back into the general fund, and then we as the electors will be able to.
Which means that, or Craig Adams can do as he wills, well, not wills, but wants to do with the money, then he can put it up at a meeting and pass it on an agenda.
Right, but if he puts it up on a meeting and passes it on an agenda, the board has to vote
on it. That's why the electors are putting the vote up.
So they are literally trying to subvert the will of the people by trying to create a lockbox that they can't do to lock away this money from the will of the people, which we'll find out at our special meeting coming up, if it is the will of the people that it should be passed off to a private organization in order to be able to run it for that limited amount of time there and run it out. But after that, I mean, I think that will still stand. We can continue running it that way, I think, into the future. But they're trying to subvert the will of the people. And in fact, at that special meeting, when it was brought up that it was the will of the people, and that it was a good idea to let this happen because it'll come after the special, the ballot initiative to see whether the people want to keep the bus service or not. Anderson basically said that, well, that's only an advisory referendum and I don't have to listen to it. Like, you are an elected official. You are an elected official. That is your job to listen to the people, not do whatever the hell you want.
It brings us back to those rants we've had where you represent the electorate, not the people that voted for you, Everybody.
So this special meeting, nothing happened again
Yeah.
for two reasons. One,
Can't make a lockbox.
well, no. That doesn't even come into play. That doesn't even come into play here. One, the first reason is that when he submitted the request for a special meeting, he forgot to include the words "and action." He only said discussion. So
They couldn't even vote on it if they wanted to.
So Supervisor Adams was like, well, nothing can happen because this doesn't say action, and it needs to say action according to the Open Meetings Act. Otherwise, people won't know you're actually doing anything. This just says discussion.
Bob Anderson said, "Drats, not again."
I would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for you kids. The other reason is that in order to do any sort of...
Sorry.
What are you doing over
I
there?
hit the wrong button.
You're breaking things. The other thing that nothing happened is because in order to amend the budget like that, you basically have to go through the whole process of normally submitting the budget.
Yeah.
So there has to be out and in public view for 30 days of what the new budget is going to be. You can't do that at the drop of a hat.
No.
So, again, another meeting, $100 in the pockets of each one of those trustees, $150 an hour into the pocket of the township attorney for another special meeting that could have waited because the regular meeting is this upcoming week.
Oh yeah, and then even if they have to post it, it still wouldn't have been taken effect until the second regular meeting anyway.
But on to that topic of the running that bus service out. So the electors had a special meeting where we put the ballot initiative on the bus on whether or not we should run the bus service. We put that advisory referendum onto the ballot. That's when that happened. We also asked them to revisit.
So wait a minute, are you saying that the special meetings that the electorate have had actually got stuff done?
Yes,
Oh.
I actually was
Or the people doing things. Oh.
yours truly was actually elected as the moderator for that meeting.
That's right.
I have a little like suitable for framing certificate.
Nice.
But so where that was put on the ballot, the advisory referendum was put on.
Oh,
the
by the way, we'd also like to add the three chums didn't show up for that meeting.
Right. The only one that did show up is the one board member, Wojcicki.
Wojcicki and Adams.
Adams
Well, he
always,
had to be there,
always
yeah,
shows up. He doesn't have to be there, actually. The only person that has to be there is the clerk.
Oh, during a public meeting?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
But the only board member, because he's not, he is a voting board member, but he's the supervisor. The only board member that bothered to show up was Wojcicki, and he's in support of keeping the service at least until the end of the funds that have already been appropriated for this.
Right.
And that goes and ties into what I'm about to say, that during that meeting we requested that they revisit the vote. That they revisit the vote and rethink and research their hearts, if you will, and decide to keep the bus service. Well, when that bus service vote came up, Adam said, at least keep it until we run out of the funds. He goes, and then by that time, the advisory referendum will be passed. And he goes, I will commit to following whatever the advisory referendum says, because that's the will of the people. If the people vote to get rid of the service, I will move forward with that, no problem. If they vote to keep the service, I will move forward with that. I will commit right now on public record to follow the advisory referendum. Stan Wojcicki committed the same. These are people that are in support of keeping the bus service. Mm-hmm. The three that
Hell-bent on
getting rid of it won't do it. And like I said, Anderson went as far as to basically say,
we don't have to listen
to the people.
He's going,
and called it a mob rule.
Of course he did.
Mob rule. So,
which is still a form of democratic representation.
I'm just saying, we need to show up with some card. I was thinking the Spirit Halloween's already opening.
Yeah.
So we can go buy some cheap
Pitchforks.
Torches.
Torches.
And plastic pitchforks and plastic torches, because you can't be an angry mob without your pitchforks and torches.
I gotta set up a card outside the meeting next time. Pitchforks, torches. Pitchforks,
Can't be an
torches.
angry mob without a pitchfork and a torch.
Oh man,
So-
that would be awesome.
He gave them an out to save face, and they wouldn't even take that. They're so hell-bent on this.
Yeah.
That they wouldn't even take that out and save face. They wouldn't put that gamble. That tells me that they know that this is going to, that this referendum, advisory referendum, is going to come back and say, keep the bus service.
Well, yeah, because like the referendum that they last had failed on miserably again too.
Right.
So they know this shit is not cool with the people.
But what was interesting about that vote is that where Anderson and Verr stayed the same no vote, Rakestraw voted present.
Yeah.
But since the vote was to to repeal the previous vote,
You have to have a be a tie.
the tie means that the previous vote stands.
Oh, he knew that.
Right. And he knew that. And what's important is that he relies on Anderson and Verr to give him rides
To the meeting.
to the meeting, which is hilarious that he's getting rid of a bus service that he himself could use simply to keep Verr and Anderson happy so that he can keep getting his rides to the meeting. That's an immense amount of power over an individual when you have a setup like that where they have that much influence, where this guy would need to resign for lack of being able to attend the meetings. And you've got two people that give him the rides, he's going to follow along with those people.
Yeah.
This is the craziness, my friends, out there, that we're dealing with. We've got Verr.
I see it and I hear it. I read about it every day, and it's still, when you talk out loud about it, it's like, how?
Right. There was a comment I made. It's kind of a personal motto of mine that I found on a Reddit thread, and it struck a chord with me. When an honest man finds he's mistaken, he either ceases to be mistaken or he ceases to be an honest man.
Yeah.
And if these people are insistent upon, the three, the Legion of Doom,
We need to come up with another name.
why?
Legion of Doom were cool cartoon characters.
Right, but they were the villains.
Right, but they were still cooler
But
than
they're
these
the
three.
villains.
They were still cooler than these three. At least they had powers and well-being to do things.
But they always lost to the good guys.
They did. But they also formed an allegiance with the good guys at one point in time. Was it the fight off? Was it Brainiac at the time?
I think it was probably Brainiac, yeah.
Brainiac, yeah.
Yeah, we're getting way off topic
sorry
there.
about that.
But yeah, these three people have been shown time and time again that they're mistaken about the duplicative service. They're mistaken about the will of the people to get rid of this service. They're mistaken about the will of the people to get rid of the road district. They're mistaken, and they insist.
Yep.
So they have just proven that they're no longer honest men.
No, it does. None of it, like I said, none of it has made sense. Like, if you were to sit there and if I were to come out and say, like, the Earth's flat, okay?
Or like the Holocaust never happened.
Right, exactly. And then you come up and you say, well, here's some photos. Oh, here's a video. Oh, wait, and here's how we can scientifically prove that, or on the internet.
Here's eyewitnesses.
Here's eyewitness accounts. Here's photos.
Yeah.
Here's videos. Here's.
And you've got all this
And then I
evidence in
sit
front
there
of you.
and I look at both of them and go, nope, still didn't happen.
Right.
I'm an idiot.
Right.
It's that simple. I mean, I understand. It's hard to change your mind on shit. It really is sometimes, depending on what it is.
Right.
But it happens. It's okay.
Right.
Embrace it.
When that Holocaust survivor comes up to you with that tattoo on their forearm with their number and goes, "I was there. I didn't just get these numbers here because I thought it'd be cool, some hipster frickin' fashion. This is not, this ink is not mine.
Mm-hmm.
It was thrust upon me."
Yeah.
And
it's
you
not in barcode fashion, so you know some hipster's not doing it.
right, and you have the gall to go, nah. It's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
It is because we are presenting proof. We are presenting exact object. Here's the results. Here's eyewitness statements. Here is we've got studies. We've got other things done, and you're still just sitting there going, la 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 la. I can't hear you. La,
I can't see the information if I don't look down.
Right. But then what should we expect from somebody like Verr, who was nearly kicked out of West Point due to his unadherence to the West Point Code of Honor, which is I will not lie, cheat, or steal, or tolerate those who do, simply for lying
And
about.
that's it.
Yeah, that's
Just
it.
know.
That's
it.
That's pretty much it. He was nearly kicked out of West Point for that, for not adhering to that Code of Honor. That's what do we got? What do we got there? We've got one guy who's Captain Ahab. We've got one guy who doesn't agree. He actually went on a big national thing, and I'll post some links to some information as well in the comments there. Big national thing trying to get rid of the honor code at West Point because of this. He didn't want that to be the honor code. I will not lie, cheat, or steal, or tolerate those who do. Like, he has a problem with that honor code. This man's a lawyer.
Oh, that makes it even worse, doesn't it?
Yeah. So you've got one Captain Ahab who's just going off on this tangent because this is his white whale. You've got one guy who doesn't agree with the concept of not lying, cheating, or stealing.
And then another guy that's just for the ride.
And then another guy
Literally.
who is literally beholden to the other two because he can't get to the meetings without them. Who, by the way, as well, at the last meeting, I overheard him discussing with somebody else, scream taxation is theft. So he's gone to the crazy libertarian, all roads should be private, taxation is theft level. And that's the rake straw.
Which, I mean, fine, you can believe it all you want, but it's been proven over and over that's not what it is.
This is why elections matter, people. Elections matter. Do your homework. Vote, but also do just a little bit of homework. Look at those interviews that go into the papers. Look in, Google search the individual. Look up what they're doing. Even better, use DuckDuckGo because Google has been screwing with results, as we've seen in the national thing with Toulouse. There we go. They were screwing with her ability to put forth ads and stuff like that, and now she's out of the next debate. That's really bad because I kind of liked her. I really kind of liked her. I would have liked to seen her as vice president. With whoever got the nomination, which I'd like to see Bernie get the nomination, and I think those two would make a killer team.
There's three people that are currently in the mix that I would vote for. I mean, two of them I would vote for in a heartbeat. The third one kind of begrudgingly, but it's just some homework.
Yeah.
And don't just go to your. If you're a Republican, don't go straight to Fox News. If you're a Democrat, don't go to CNN.
In a local election, you're not going to go to Fox News or CNN. But don't just vote based on that. Don't play red team, blue team politics.
Yeah.
Don't just vote based on the R or the D next to their name. Vote based on policies, based on character, based on actions, based on words, but more on actions than on words, because words mean nothing, actions are everything. Don't play the red team, blue team game, because you will want. That's exactly how these guys wound up in office, with simple red team, blue team politics, and it's not the way forward.
No, and don't vote for a single. Well, I shouldn't say it. If you want to vote for a single item, fine. If that guy stands for something you want versus the other person, fine. Do that. but also make sure that that guy that you're voting for actually stands for that thing that you want.
Yeah, and sometimes you have to make a call based on what's important to you. I'm a firearm owner. I own an AR-15. But here I am saying I'd love to see Bernie win this next election because Trump is that bad to me. And in the previous election, I couldn't vote for Trump or Hillary. I voted for Johnson because I saw both of them as being terrible people. Mm-hmm. I saw both Hillary and it's not about what team they bat for. It's about what they do.
Yep. But again, and then when local level stuff, though, if you look at your local papers, I mean, there's more than one local paper, so you can look up different things about that people.
Or a local news source, such as a podcast that's dedicated to the county level.
And we're not saying to follow us our words to a T.
No.
We're also saying look up the shit yourselves.
Right.
You looked it up. We're reading it off the news sites. We're reading it off of what words have come out of people's mouths.
That's why we give you the links to the same stories that we're talking about. That's why that happens. That's why we do that, is so that, one, to give credit to those local papers that are posting this thing, and two, so that you can read it, so you're not just taking our words as gospel.
Right.
Because nobody should take my word as gospel.
No, not mine either.
I'm going to run for that office to unseat these people. You shouldn't take my word for gospel because I have a vested interest in unseating them. That should make anything I've said this whole time suspect, simply because of critical thinking. And that's a key thing there. Make sure that I'm telling the truth when I speak.
Right. And the other thing is, too, is even in what we've ever talked about and stuff, and his views on things, even if it comes to a point in one of the board meetings where most of the, if he knows that the people want something opposite of what he wants, he's still going to go with the people because that's put him there.
Yeah, that's your job.
That's your job.
That's your job. Here's your sign. That's your job.
Yep. Sign here, sign there, and yep.
And that's an interesting thought. I wonder. So, there is no recall provision for Township in Illinois.
Actually, there's only recall provision is for the only recall provision in the state of Illinois is for governor.
Right. So, I wonder if we could. I need a creative lawyer. I need a really creative lawyer because I'm about to go off on a tangent here. So, Illinois is a at-will employment state.
Technically, yes.
Yeah. So you can be fired at any time for any reason, no reason given. That is their job. They're not doing their job. They're not listening to the people. Couldn't we just fire them?
Let's double check this real quick.
Oh, it's still recording. The battery's low. Oh no, the battery's low.
Battery low.
So I think that's going to have to be our last thought there. We're not going to be able to discuss that.
I have another battery.
Do you?
I do, but I don't know how charged up that one is.
It's okay. I'm just going to leave with that parting thought. At will employment, can we fire them? I need a creative lawyer. This has been Mike Toller.
Now I'm Brett Peter.
And this is Don't Panic McHenry County. Thank you. Don't do anything I would do.